Marie Antoinette, the last Queen of France. Marie Antoinette, or her birth name Archduchess Maria Antonia Josepha Johanna, was born on May 2, 1755 at Schönbrunn Palace in Vienna, Austria. She was the daughter of Emperor Francis I of the Holy Roman Empire, Grand Duke of Tuscany, and Empress Maria Teresa of Hungary and Bohemia, Archduchess of Austria. She was raised by the courtiers of the imperial court, Madame de Brandis, and later by the strict Madame de Lichtenfeld, under the strict watchful eye of the Empress, who had backward ideas about raising her sons and daughters, with strict hygiene and diet control. And the physical torture of strenuous activities for Marie Antoinette, growing up with her education being rather neglected. She could only read and write when she was almost 10 years old, did not speak German very well, spoke little French, and even less Italian, even though all three languages were widely spoken among the Austrian royal family. Marie Antoinette learned to play the harpsichord with Christoph Willibald Gluck, a famous composer, and studied French dance with Navarra. When her mother had to choose between two actors to teach her to read and sing, the French ambassador officially objected, because he saw that the actors were not qualified enough. Maria Teresa asked him to find a teacher approved by the French court. The one sent was the Bishop of Vermont, who was fond of the Enlightenment and a lover of the art of literacy. He was the one who successfully corrected Marie Antoinette's educational shortcomings, in line with the Austrian policy of sending her children to be inseparable with the royal families. In Europe, however, in terms of beauty, Marie Antoinette was known as the most beautiful princess among the princesses. Although she was not outstanding in education, she was talented in music, dressed in modern fashion, and had a charming way of speaking that made anyone who talked to her fall in love with Marie Antoinette. Later, on June 13, 1769, the Marquis of Darfort came to ask for Marie Antoinette, who was then Archduchess Maria of the Habsburg dynasty of the Holy Roman Empire, to marry the Crown Prince of France, King Louis XVI, Louis XVI de France, when she was 14 years old. The marriage of the couple was to improve relations between the Austrian and French dynasties, who had been enemies for a long time in the past. However, some French people, especially the religious group led by the Duke of Choiseul, the French ambassador, objected to the marriage, which led to the introduction of the term Austrian woman, which was used as a derogatory term because the French considered Austrians to be lowly, inferior, and spoke a different language. Austrians spoke German. The unstable married life. Life after the coronation ceremony was not as smooth as she had dreamed. At first, she had to adjust to many things because of the differences between Austrian and French customs. She had to face countless problems, suffering from adjusting to French ceremonies and traditions. Her husband was taught to despise Austria and would try to distance himself from her by running away to hunt in the woods early in the morning, which made her hate and feel uncomfortable living with the people around her very much. But later she had Marie Therese. The couple began to have a real relationship after being married for 3 years, but King Louis XVI still refused to have children with her, leaving her to face scandalous rumors and factions. Pulled into the palace group, Marie Antoinette, at the age of 16, lived a free and joyful life, organizing lavish parties without any awareness of the country's events. At that time, France was in a serious crisis, to the point that many citizens had survived for many years. At the same time, because Marie Antoinette wanted to prove herself, she devoted herself to perfumes, clothing, and makeup, so she spent a lot of money to transform herself into a French woman that the royal family accepted. Her hobby, singing, also led to frequent parties in the palace. In addition, she was surrounded by a number of close friends, the Princess of Lamballe, the Baron of Besançon, the Duke of Caille, as well as Yolande de Polastret and the Countess of Polina. They made other concubines jealous by providing a lot of clothes and jewelry, organizing lavish parties, and organizing games with huge stakes. These were the things that the French revolutionaries later used to stir up hatred among the people. In the later period, despite the difficulties they had previously faced, they eventually had 4 heirs to the throne: Princess Marie-Therese, Prince Louis-Joseph, Dauphin of France, King Louis XVII of France, and Princess Sophie-Hélène Beatrix of France. The infamous necklace scandal. The necklace scandal was one of the major events that greatly affected the image and fate of Marie Antoinette, Queen of France. This incident occurred before the French Revolution and was used as a major accusation against her. In the 1780s, the magnificent diamond necklace was created. A beautiful and valuable necklace was made by a French jeweler. This necklace was offered to sell to Queen Marie Antoinette, but she refused to buy it. A young woman named Madame de Lamont, who was fascinated by the luxurious life, planned to deceive Cardinal de Rohan into believing that the Queen wanted to buy this necklace. She pretended to be the Queen's representative and convinced the Cardinal to buy the necklace for the Queen. When the story was revealed that the Queen did not order the necklace, the damaged image would be hard to restore. Many believed that the necklace case was just a slander against her to create legitimacy to overthrow the monarchy. Let them eat cake, a phrase that was an early fake news. Marie Antoinette was one of the most slandered European royals. For example, the fact that she took to bathing frequently was rumored to be because she had an affair. But the most serious accusation was the phrase "let them eat cake" that she said. The beginning of fake news at that time came from the French people starting to cultivate resentment from the famine. The revolutionary movement spread the news that Marie Antoinette said "Choiles mangeant de la brioche," which meant advising people who did not even have bread to eat cake instead. It was said that she was showing her disregard for the hardships of the French people who were facing famine and high prices. However, in fact, there is no evidence that Marie Antoinette ever said such a sentence. Most historians believe that this sentence was just made up to attack her and the royal family because this sentence was said before Marie Antoinette became Queen of France. The real origin of this sentence is Jean-Jacques Rousseau, a famous writer who once mentioned a similar sentence in his book Confessions, which told the story of a princess who did not care about the hardships of the people and advised them to eat brioche instead of bread. Another thing that indicates that Marie Antoinette was being attacked is that at one point she was fed up with the fake society in the palace that seemed to be performing all the time, so she built a small palace. Outside the Palace of Versailles, to live in peace, she dressed simply in cotton and had a painter come to paint her picture to be exhibited in Paris. However, the criticism continued to swirl, with Parisians questioning why she did not wear French silk, dressing indecently, and building a new palace as unnecessary extravagance. The French Revolution of 1789. The French Revolution was an important historical event that occurred between 1789 and 1799, which had a wide impact on politics, society, and human thought around the world. This revolution overthrew the lasting monarchy of France and led to the establishment of the French Republic. At that time, King Louis XVI and Queen Marie Antoinette were invited to stay at the Tuileries Palace before being questioned by representatives of the National Assembly. They answered vague questions. The answers that were published to the public caused much criticism, leading to calls for their removal from the position of king. Marie Antoinette secretly met Antoine Barnave, who wanted to persuade Louis XVI to accept the monarchy under a democratic system of government. Finally, on September 13th, Louis XVI accepted democracy, and on September 30th, the Council of Kings was dissolved and a legislature was established in its place. However, news of the war with the neighboring dynasties spread far and wide. Of all the European royal families, Austria felt the greatest pressure on the French people. The people revolted against Marie Antoinette, calling her a devil or a lawless madam, and blaming her for the bloodshed in the capital. On August 3, 1792, the Braunschweig Proclamation, largely inspired by Count Hans Axel de Fersen, successfully stoked the French people's resentment. The situation escalated and the people revolted against the state on August 10, storming the Tuileries Palace. Louis XVI was forced to seek refuge in the National Revolutionary Council. The vote later dismissed him temporarily and sent him to a convent of the Felons. The next day, the royal family was taken to the cell in the church. During the massacre of the royal family in September, the Princess of Lombard was brutally murdered as a slaughter for the monkeys. Some documents say she was Marie's concubine, not the princess, and her head was impaled on a spear and placed outside the window of Marie Antoinette's residence. Soon after the war began, the Revolutionary Council declared the royal family hostage. In early December, an iron cabinet in which Louis XVI had hidden his secret documents was discovered, and a trial was inevitably held. Both Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette were eventually charged with treason after the French revolutionists claimed to have found evidence of their escape, including contacts with the Austrian royal family for help. On December 26, the National Assembly voted to execute the king. This resulted in King Louis XVI being executed by guillotine on January 21, 1793, and on March 27, Maximilien Robespierre, one of the revolutionaries, made his first request to the French National Revolutionary Council to execute another queen, the day of her execution. On July 13, the Crown Prince was abducted from his mother and placed in the care of Antoine Simon, a shoemaker. On August 2, Marie Antoinette was separated from the princesses and taken to the Paris penitentiary. Marie Antoinette was sentenced to death for tyranny on October 16. At 12:15 p.m., she was executed by guillotine and died after refusing to confess to a priest provided by the revolutionaries. Her last words were, "Forgive us, monsieur, we did not mean to, for we accidentally stepped on the foot of the executioner." Her body was buried in La Madeleine crypt on the Rue Anjou Saint-Honore. On January 18, 1815, her body was exhumed and transferred to the Cathedral of Saint Denis.